In the quiet folds of history, long before the hum of modern life, women carried within them a weight that was often invisible, yet deeply felt. Their hearts fluttered with anxieties that whispered in the dim candlelight of their homes, in the soft shadows of the markets, and in the silent corridors of monasteries and palaces. The world around them was vast and imposing, and the means by which their unease was noticed, acknowledged, or treated were as varied as the rivers that meandered through ancient lands. In the earliest times, across villages and settlements, anxiety was not labeled as it is today. There were no soft-spoken doctors, no warm therapy rooms. Yet, the instinct to soothe and calm was present. Women's anxiety was often seen as a spiritual or bodily imbalance. Herbs were gathered with gentle hands in the cool mornings, dew clinging to the edges of leaves, and brewed into teas that smelled faintly of lavender, rosemary, and chamomile. A mother or sister would sit beside the anxious woman, letting the warmth of her presence speak more than words ever could offer in reassurance that the fear, the fluttering, the restlessness would pass as surely as the sun rose and set. In ancient Egypt, anxiety was entwined with the spiritual world. Women often turned to rituals performed with slow, deliberate motions. The soft chanting of incantations, the touch of aromatic oils on temples and wrists, and the placing of protective amulets upon the body were believed to calm the mind and shield it from restless thoughts. The gentle hum of the priestess's voice, combined with the rhythmic motions of hands across parchment and stone, could coax the tightness from a woman's chest, as though the very universe was whispering, "You are safe, you are seen, you will breathe again." Moving through time to ancient Greece, there was an understanding, a soft murmur of recognition, that the body and mind were intimately connected. Women's anxiety was often interpreted as a disturbance of the humors, the flowing elements of the body. Physicians would recommend baths in warm, scented waters, where steam rose like soft clouds and the tension in shoulders and temples melted into the gentle embrace of heat. Sometimes quiet walks along olive groves or by the sea, feeling the rhythm of waves against rocks, were prescribed. The natural world, with its unhurried cycles, became a gentle counselor, teaching women to breathe and to trust in the slow unfolding of life. In the halls of medieval Europe, anxiety could be a heavy cloak pressed by superstition and societal expectations. The remedies were varied, often combining herbal infusions with prayer and contemplative practices. Monasteries offered a refuge for some women, where soft chanting, the smell of burning incense, and the cool stone beneath bare feet created a rhythm that soothed both body and spirit. There were whispers of early treatments with warm baths infused with calming herbs, the careful placement of stones with believed healing properties, and the quiet presence of companions who understood the language of worry without needing to name it. In the East, across the lands of China and Japan, anxiety in women was often approached with a harmonious blending of body, mind, and energy. Gentle movements, slow and deliberate, were practiced to restore balance. The careful gestures of qigong, the soft, measured steps of walking meditation, and the serene focus on breathing in and out as though inhaling peace and exhaling tension. Herbs were selected not only for their physical effects, but for the subtle energies they were believed to carry, guiding a woman toward equilibrium, reminding her that anxiety was a cloud passing through the sky of her inner landscape, not a permanent storm. Through centuries, across lands and cultures, there was an understanding, even if unspoken, that anxiety was a companion to life. Sometimes unwelcome, sometimes persistent, but always something that could be attended to with care. Gentle touch, quiet conversation, the careful tending of body and mind, the presence of others, the rhythms of nature, and the soothing repetition of rituals, all these were ways women learned to cradle their anxiety, to let it settle as one might settle a restless bird onto a soft branch where it could rest without fear. As time moved into the Renaissance, the world began to whisper new ideas. Learned women, poets, and thinkers began to describe the inner workings of the mind with a delicacy and curiosity that had not existed before. Anxiety was still a shadow, still unkindly misunderstood, but more and more it was noticed, written about, and approached with both science and art. Music, with its flowing cadences, became a balm. The soft touch of a lute string, the gentle rise and fall of a voice singing in harmony, the flicker of candlelight dancing on walls, all were small therapies. Quiet and intimate, allowing women to breathe in patterns of sound that mirrored the natural ebb and flow of their own hearts. In the homes of the 17th and 18th centuries, Herbal remedies continued, often paired with quiet walks in carefully tended gardens. The scent of mint and rose, the whisper of wind through carefully pruned trees, the sight of flowers turning toward the sun, all became subtle companions in calming anxious thoughts. Gentle conversations over tea with the soft clink of porcelain and the faint aroma of brewing herbs offered women a ritual in which worry could be spoken and gently set aside, a delicate letting go in the safe company of others. Even as medicine began to formalize in the 19th century, approaches to women's anxiety often remained rooted in the gentle and domestic. Doctors prescribed rest, quiet reflection, and controlled environments. The notion of the rest cure, though sometimes misunderstood and overbearing, was at its core an attempt to create space for a mind to settle, to allow the body and spirit to regain equilibrium. The soft drawing of curtains, the quiet pages of a book turned with care, the slow ritual of journaling one's thoughts all became part of a landscape in which anxiety could be acknowledged without being shamed, where rest was a tender intentional act. As modern times approached, the understanding deepened, blending gentle psychology with historical wisdom. Women learned to speak of their inner worlds, to name their anxiety and allow it to exist without judgment. Therapies combined listening with soothing practices, mindfulness with reflection, echoing the rituals of centuries past in new forms. Yet at every point there was a through line: the need for gentle presence, for care, for the slow acknowledgement that the mind and heart must be tended with patience and compassion. And so as we drift further into the quiet night, imagining the hands that picked herbs by morning dew, the soft voices chanting in candlelit monasteries. Across time and place the remedies varied, yet the intention remained the same: to cradle the mind and spirit, to soothe the fluttering, to whisper softly to the restless heart that it is seen, it is understood, and it will rest. The stars outside, the moon's gentle glow, the soft sighing of the wind through trees, all continue this age-old conversation. Anxiety is acknowledged, tended to, and finally eased. The tender understanding that a woman's anxious heart can find calm, that the mind can rest, and that in the quiet, soft night, all is well. As the 19th century slowly gave way to the 20th, the world began to shift in ways both subtle and profound. Industrial cities rose with their chimneys and clatter, yet in quieter corners, women still sought calm in familiar rituals, often echoing practices of their grandmothers and great-grandmothers. Gardens became sanctuaries, where the gentle rustle of leaves and the subtle perfume of flowers could ease a racing mind. In these green refuges, women walked slowly, breathing deliberately, noticing the small miracles around them: a ladybug inching across a leaf, the soft hum of bees among blossoms, the sun casting delicate patterns through branches. In parlors filled with the soft glow of gaslight or early electricity, tea and conversation offered another gentle balm. Friends, sisters, and mothers shared worries and offered quiet counsel, their words measured, soft, and considerate, echoing the age-old understanding that anxiety, while personal, need not be borne alone. There were times when music floated from pianofortes, fingers gliding over ivory keys, the notes wrapping around anxious hearts like warm silk. A slow melody could mirror the breath itself, rising and falling, teaching the restless mind to match the rhythm, to find ease in repetition, to remember that time itself is gentle and unhurried. Even as psychology emerged as a formal field, early therapies retained a deeply human element. Women's anxieties were treated with patience, observation, and care. Gentle conversations encouraged expression, not judgment, and the notion that the mind could be nurtured, as a garden is nurtured, began to take root. While some methods were misguided by the standards of today, their intent often reflected an intuitive wisdom: that attention, empathy, and a calm environment are themselves profoundly healing. Across continents, other cultures continue to weave soothing practices into daily life. In India, women embraced yoga and meditation, slow movements paired with conscious breath, the rise and fall of the chest like waves on a quiet shore. Aromatic oils and gentle massage offered tactile comfort, a slow reassurance to the body that it could release tension, that fear and restlessness could dissipate into the earth and air. Ancient texts guided caregivers to encourage patience, kindness, and self-compassion, reminding anxious hearts that, like rivers, emotions flow naturally, sometimes swift, sometimes still, always moving toward peace. In Japan, the practice of tea ceremonies became more than ritual. It was a meditation. The careful, deliberate motions of preparing and serving tea, the mindful attention to warmth, texture, and scent, created a space in which anxiety could be acknowledged without words. Women could observe each movement, breathe with each gesture, and let the quiet ritual act as a bridge from unrest to calm. Even the smallest details, a carefully folded cloth, the soft clink of porcelain, became cues to slow the mind, to return to the present, to let worry dissolve into the simplicity of intentional action. Through the early 20th century, society shifted rapidly, and yet the need for gentle care persisted. Women's anxieties, whether sparked by social pressures, personal loss, or the rapid changes of the world, were met in various ways. Quiet retreats, walking in nature, and the act of journaling became powerful allies. Each word written was a soft exhalation, each step through a sunlit grove a small reclaiming of calm. Music, art, and poetry offered conduits for expression, allowing restless minds to find rhythm, color, and sound as gentle guides toward serenity. In homes and clinics alike, the understanding that environment shapes mind gained traction. Rooms filled with light, spaces kept orderly yet soft, and the gentle presence of supportive companions became central. Women were encouraged to rest not only their bodies but their thoughts, to allow anxiety to settle like dust in a still room, not to be chased or punished, but quietly acknowledged and soothed. The hum of a sewing machine, the soft flutter of pages turning, the measured strokes of a paintbrush all could become meditative companions, providing structure and reassurance in a world that often demanded speed and perfection. By mid-century, the integration of modern medicine and psychology brought more tools, yet the principles of gentle care endured. Therapists learned to listen with patience, to guide with empathy, and to provide women with methods to recognize, name, and release anxious thoughts. Breathing exercises, relaxation techniques, and early forms of cognitive therapy mirrored, in many ways, the ancient wisdom of herbal teas, slow walks, and mindful attention. The approach was no longer only about soothing the body, it was also about nurturing the mind with deliberate kindness, echoing centuries of understanding that anxiety, like a shadow, retreats in the presence of light and care. Even as society moved toward faster rhythms, women found solace in subtle, time-honored rituals. A warm bath with faintly scented oils, the slow stirring of tea, the soft touch of a hand on the shoulder, the gentle reading of a favorite passage, all became anchors in moments of unrest. The world may have spun faster, but these acts of calm were timeless. Across continents, across centuries, the message remained unchanged. The anxious heart can be soothed, the restless mind can be calmed, and sleep will come when we tend to ourselves with patience and compassion. As we drift further into quiet reflection, we see that history is not just a record of events, it is a tapestry of human care. Women, across time and place, have met their anxious hearts with ritual, attention, and gentle understanding. From the soft chanting in candlelit temples to the careful tending of herb gardens, from the deliberate movements of meditation to the quiet companionship of friends, each practice has been a thread in this enduring tapestry. It reminds us that anxiety is not a flaw to be hidden, but a natural rhythm to be observed, acknowledged, and guided toward stillness. And now, as your own breath slows and softens, imagine the hands that picked herbs by morning dew, the gentle songs that floated through monasteries, and homes the serene rhythm of tea ceremonies, the quiet reflection of a garden walk. Each of these whispers from the past carries a simple truth: you are seen, you are understood, and it is safe to rest. Anxiety, like a passing cloud, will drift away, leaving your mind calm, your heart light, and sleep ready to enfold you in its gentle, timeless embrace. As the decades of the 20th century unfolded, the world changed with dizzying speed, yet the gentle practices of care remained steadfast, quietly guiding anxious women through the complexities of modern life. Urbanization, wars, and the shifting roles of women brought new forms of tension. Yet throughout it all, the ancient wisdom of gentle presence endured. In the quiet corners of homes and clinics, women learned to recognize anxiety as a natural companion rather than an enemy, a subtle rhythm that could be met with patience and kindness. In early modern clinics, therapies for women's anxiety began to blend scientific observation with humanistic care. Doctors and therapists encouraged slow breathing, gentle walks, and mindful reflection. Spaces were designed to be calm and orderly, the soft presence of a compassionate companion often proving more soothing than any prescription. Women were advised to rest, to allow themselves moments of quiet, to read or write in gentle candlelight, and to spend time in nature whenever possible. These practices, while clinical in form, mirrored the age-old rituals of herbal teas, serene gardens, and soft songs, reminding women that calm could be cultivated, nurtured, and preserved. The rise of psychology brought new language to describe the inner life. Terms like anxiety and nervous tension allowed women to name what they felt, giving shape to experiences that had previously been silent or misunderstood. Therapists guided patients with soft encouragement, helping them recognize patterns of thought and emotion, and offering simple calming exercises to ease the mind. Breathing, visualization, and gentle meditation were introduced as tools for self-soothing, echoing the slow, deliberate movements of yoga and tai chi. The calming rituals of tea ceremonies, and the centuries-old practice of tending to the body as a reflection of the mind. Even in the hustle of modern cities, women found refuge in small, intentional rituals. A walk through a quiet park, the soft brushing of fingers over the petals of a flower, the rhythmic stirring of a cup of tea, or the gentle sound of music could all become anchors of calm. The act of observing the sunlight flicker through leaves, feeling the warmth of a soft blanket, listening to the distant murmur of life outside, became a gentle therapy in itself. The restless mind was offered a rhythm to follow, a slow cadence in which fear and tension could be set aside, like pebbles gently settling to the bottom of a clear stream. In homes around the world, women found solace in community and companionship. Sharing worries with friends, family, or mentors was encouraged, creating a network of gentle understanding. Letters and journals allowed women to express thoughts that might otherwise remain unspoken, and in the act of expression, anxiety lost some of its weight. Music, art, and poetry became bridges from tension to calm, offering a space where emotions could flow and dissipate, guided by rhythm, melody, and color. These practices, both simple and profound, honored the natural cycles of mind and body, reflecting the timeless understanding that anxiety is best met with care, patience, and mindful attention. By the late 20th century, therapeutic practices expanded, blending scientific knowledge with the wisdom of centuries. Cognitive behavioral techniques were introduced gently, teaching women to observe anxious thoughts without judgment and to guide themselves toward calm. Mindfulness meditation became a modern echo of ancient practices, emphasizing slow, deliberate attention to the present moment. Yoga, tai chi, and other gentle movement practices offered a physical path to ease the mind, while breathing exercises, journaling, and quiet reflection allowed thoughts to settle as naturally as dusk falls upon the earth. Even in the age of technology, where life could be fast and unrelenting, the principles of calm remained. Soft routines, quiet spaces, and intentional pauses became essential. A slow cup of tea in the morning, a short walk in the evening, or the gentle act of reading before bed could serve as anchors, holding the mind gently through waves of worry. Music, nature, and tactile sensations continue to soothe, a reminder that despite the complexity of the modern world, the human need for calm and comfort is timeless. In homes, clinics, and communities, women learned to honor their anxious hearts. They practiced awareness without judgment, gave themselves permission to rest, and embraced rituals that had comforted generations before them. Simple actions, a warm bath, soft lighting, slow breathing, gentle conversation were reminders that care does not have to be grand or complicated. It only needs to be present, consistent, and patient, offering a quiet assurance that the mind and heart can find stillness. As the night deepens and sleep draws near, imagine a lineage of gentle care stretching back through time. Picture the soft hands that offered herbs, the melodic voices that sang in quiet rooms, the delicate steps through gardens and along temple paths, the mindful stirring of tea, the careful turning of pages, and the slow, intentional breaths. Each act, small or great, carries the same message across centuries. Your anxious heart is seen, it is honored, and it can rest. Let the mind soften, the body relax, and the breath find a gentle rhythm. Imagine all the women throughout history, from distant lands and distant times, meeting their anxious hearts with compassion and patience, and now lending their calm to you. Like waves lapping quietly on a shore, let your thoughts settle. Like leaves floating gently to the ground, let your tension ease. You are safe, you are understood, and sleep flows toward you like a slow, serene river, carrying with it the wisdom, care, and gentle presence of countless generations. As the late 20th century gave way to the 21st, the understanding of anxiety continued to evolve, Yet the timeless wisdom of gentle care remained. Women now had access to a rich variety of tools and practices, yet all of them at their core echoed the centuries-old principle. Anxiety is not a flaw to be punished, but a companion to be acknowledged, soothed, and guided toward stillness. In quiet therapy rooms, women learned to observe their thoughts with gentle curiosity. They were taught that anxiety often speaks in patterns, that it arises and falls like waves, and that it can be met with awareness rather than resistance. Breathing exercises, mindful pauses, and guided meditations offered ways to anchor attention, to slow the racing tide of thoughts, and to return to the natural rhythm of the body. These modern methods, though grounded in science, reflected the age-old understanding that care must be tender, consistent, and compassionate. Even outside formal therapy, daily life became a canvas for calming rituals. Early morning walks in the stillness of dawn, the soft patter of rain on rooftops, the delicate glow of sunlight filtering through curtains, each became a gentle invitation for the mind to rest. In kitchens and gardens, the rhythmic chopping of vegetables, the careful tending of plants, and the slow preparation of meals offered tactile reassurance. The simple act of noticing, of giving attention to the present moment, reminded anxious hearts that life could be observed without urgency, that tension could dissipate like mist in the morning sun. Across continents, women continue to draw from both tradition and modernity. Aromatherapy, herbal teas, and gentle massages blended seamlessly with mindfulness exercises, yoga, and sound therapy. The soft hum of a meditation bell, the quiet resonance of a singing bowl, the measured gestures of stretching and movement all became tools for soothing the body and mind, each one a gentle whisper. It is safe to slow down, it is safe to rest, it is safe to breathe. In digital spaces too, a quiet revolution of care emerged. Guided meditations, calming music, and virtual spaces for reflection allowed women to carry serenity into busy, unpredictable lives. Even amidst the constant flow of information, they learned to create pauses, to establish moments of stillness, and to treat their minds with the same tenderness as a flower being carefully nurtured. The lesson was clear, regardless of the world's pace. Calm is a choice that can be practiced, refined, and returned to again and again. Sleep itself became a gentle practice. Women were encouraged to soften their environments, dim lights, and reduce noise, creating spaces that mirrored the quiet corners of history, the serene gardens, the candlelit rooms, the soothing chants of centuries past. Soft blankets, gentle scents, and comforting routines were modern echoes of the warm baths, herbal teas, and slow movements that had guided anxious hearts through generations. Each element was a subtle reminder that the mind, like the body, thrives when treated with care, patience, and consistent attention. Even in moments of intensity, when anxiety flares like sudden wind through trees, women learned that there is always a gentle path forward. Breathing slowly, grounding attention in the sensations of the body, listening to the soft hum of life outside, or reaching for a comforting ritual could anchor the mind. Like the women of history who walked gardens, sang lullabies, prepared teas, and turned pages with care, modern women discovered that simple, mindful actions have extraordinary power to soothe restless hearts. And so, as night deepens, imagine all these practices weaving together across time and space. Picture the women in ancient temples, chanting softly in candlelight, their voices a tender lullaby. See the women walking through olive groves, listening to the distant sea. Imagine the quiet gardens of Europe, the deliberate tea ceremonies of Japan, the meditative movements in India, the warm herbal baths in countless homes through the centuries. Each action, small and gentle, carries a single universal message. It is safe to rest. Now imagine that you are part of this continuum, that your anxious heart is cradled in the same tender care. Feel your shoulders soften, your chest rise and fall with ease, your mind slowing to the rhythm of a quiet river. Visualize your thoughts like leaves floating on water, drifting gently, settling into calm. Hear the soft echo of centuries of wisdom guiding you. Slow down, breathe, observe, rest. Your heart, like those of women before you, can find ease. Your mind, like theirs, can find quiet. With each breath, let go of tension. With each exhale, imagine anxiety softening, dissolving, becoming lighter. The night embraces you. The air around you whispers calm. And the gentle wisdom of generations past settles around you like a soft blanket. You are safe, you are seen, and you can rest. Sleep flows naturally, gently, steadily, carrying with it the reassurance of centuries. that anxious hearts can be soothed, that restless minds can find stillness, and that peace is always within reach. This fourth segment adds roughly 1,400 to 1,500 words, keeping the story continuous, immersive, and sleep-inducing, while moving fully into modern and contemporary understanding. We're gradually building toward the full 15,000-word story. The next segments can explore deeper reflections, personal meditative journeys, subtle historical anecdotes, and richly calming imagery, maintaining the flow and soft rhythm for sleep. I can continue with the next batch now, continuing the continuous narrative toward completion. As we move deeper into the 21st century, the care of women's anxious hearts continues to evolve, yet the essence of what brings calm remains timeless. Though the world hums with energy and distraction, the quiet spaces that soothe the mind are still within reach. Across cultures, across homes, across centuries, the methods may differ, but the intention is always the same: to cradle the anxious heart with patience, compassion, and gentle attention. In modern therapy, the language has become richer, offering women new ways to understand and embrace their inner experiences. Gentle techniques such as guided imagery, progressive muscle relaxation, and mindfulness meditation invite women to observe their thoughts without judgment, to notice tension without fear, and to allow emotions to flow like a river, acknowledging each ripple and eddy before it drifts peacefully onward. These modern practices echo the ancient wisdom of slow movements, of intentional breathing, of music and rituals that soothe the soul. Outside therapy, the small, deliberate choices of daily life continue to offer profound comfort. The soft morning light spilling across a bedroom, the delicate aroma of fresh herbs, the rhythmic motion of stirring a warm cup of tea, or the quiet brush of fingertips across a piano keyboard. Each of these ordinary moments carries extraordinary power to quiet a restless mind. Like the gentle hum of a lullaby, they create patterns and rhythms that reassure the anxious heart that it is safe to rest, that it is seen, and that it can relax. Technology, too, has become a subtle ally. Calm apps, soothing music, guided sleep meditations, and online communities all provide gentle support. They echo the age-old practices of centuries past, bringing the wisdom of herbs, chants, walks, and meditative movement into modern forms. Yet at their core, they remind women of the same essential truth: anxiety is a companion, not an adversary, and it can be met with patience, awareness, and care. Even in moments when anxiety feels sudden or overwhelming, the same gentle principles hold. Slow breathing, soft grounding exercises, and intentional pauses become bridges from restlessness to calm. The mind, like a river responding to gentle currents, begins to settle. Visualizations imagining walking through sunlit gardens, listening to the soft rustle of leaves, feeling the warmth of sunlight on skin, or tracing the gentle curves of flower petals offer a path to tranquility, linking the modern mind with the timeless serenity that guided women throughout history. Sleep itself is an extension of this practice. Creating a calm environment, soft lighting, comforting textures, and soothing scents mirrors the quiet spaces of centuries past. The candlelit rooms, the serene temple corridors, the gentle gardens, the peaceful monasteries. Each element, however small, is a reminder that care is not grandiose but present, simple, and consistent. With each conscious choice, the anxious heart learns that it can be held in safety and that the mind can find stillness. As you drift further into the quiet night, imagine the women throughout history who have met their anxious hearts with gentle care. Picture the priestesses and herbalists, the mothers and sisters, the poets and musicians, the therapists and friends, all guiding and comforting with soft words, quiet hands, and intentional presence. Picture their practices flowing through time, connecting with your own breath, your own heartbeat, your own sense of calm. Your body softens, your mind slows, and your heart settles. Imagine each anxious thought as a delicate leaf floating on a calm stream, each one drifting gently, moving naturally, without resistance. Feel the lineage of care that stretches back through centuries embracing you now. The soft chanting of temples, the rhythmic steps through gardens, the turning of pages in quiet rooms, the deliberate gestures of tea ceremonies, all converge into a single gentle current of calm flowing toward you, wrapping around you, settling into your mind and body. Now imagine a warm light spreading from your chest outward, illuminating your body with gentle reassurance. With each inhale, imagine drawing in calm. With each exhale, imagine releasing tension. The anxious fluttering softens, the restless mind eases, and sleep flows naturally, steadily, like a quiet river carrying centuries of wisdom. You are safe, you are seen, and your heart is held in gentle, timeless care. In this peaceful state, the lessons of history mingle with the present, that every anxious thought can be met with patience, that every restless moment can be softened, and that every woman through all of time across every culture has known that calm can be cultivated, nurtured, and embraced. As the night deepens and the body relaxes fully, feel yourself joining this continuum of care. You are cradled, guided, and reassured by generations of gentle practices. The world outside may hum and whirl, but inside, in this quiet moment, there is only calm, only presence, only the serene knowledge that you can rest fully, deeply, and peacefully. As the night stretches wider and quieter, the story of women and their anxious hearts becomes less about time and more about continuity. The centuries soften and blur, folding gently into one another, like layers of silk laid carefully atop one another. The names of eras fade, and what remains is a shared human experience. The steady search for calm, for reassurance, for a place where the mind can finally rest. In countless homes across history, anxiety was never shouted about. It arrived quietly, often in the still hours, as a tightening in the chest, a restless turning of thoughts, a sense of unease without clear cause. Women learned, intuitively, to meet these moments not with force, but with gentleness. They sat by windows watching moonlight spill across stone floors, listening to the distant sounds of the world settling for the night. They wrapped shawls around their shoulders, feeling the grounding comfort of weight and warmth, allowing their bodies to remember safety. In ancient villages, grandmothers passed down unspoken knowledge. They knew which herbs calmed the breath, which scents eased the heart, which songs could quiet a racing mind. Their wisdom was not written in books but carried in hands, in voices, in the rhythm of daily life. When anxiety appeared, it was met with quiet understanding. A warm drink was prepared. A fire was tended. Someone stayed close not to fix, but simply to be present. Through medieval times, when fear and uncertainty often shaped daily life, women still found refuge in repetition and ritual. Prayer beads slipping slowly through fingers, candles lit at the same hour each evening, the steady hum of familiar chants, these acts created islands of calm in turbulent worlds. Anxiety was soothed not by explanation, but by rhythm. The body learned to relax because it recognized the pattern, the predictability, the gentle promise that this moment, like all others, would pass. In Renaissance homes, music floated softly through corridors. A lute, a harp, or a quiet voice singing near dusk offered a balm deeper than words. Women noticed how sound could loosen tight thoughts, how melody could guide the breath into slower patterns. They learned, perhaps without realizing it, that anxiety softened when the nervous system felt held, when the air itself seemed to move in harmony. As centuries unfolded, this wisdom adapted, but never disappeared. In salons, parlors, kitchens, and gardens, women continued to create spaces of calm. The act of sewing, the steady movement of needle through cloth, became a form of meditation. The repetition quieted the mind, allowed thoughts to drift without urgency. Baking bread, kneading dough with slow, deliberate motions, grounded anxious energy in the body, transforming restlessness into warmth and nourishment. By the time modern psychology began naming anxiety, women already knew its texture. They knew how it felt in the body, how it whispered in the mind, how it ebbed and flowed. What science added was language, but what history had always provided was care. Gentle listening, patience, and reassurance remained at the heart of healing. Even when treatments were imperfect, the instinct to soothe rather than shame persisted quietly, passed from one generation to the next. In the modern world, where speed often replaces stillness, women rediscovered the power of slowing down. Mindfulness, though newly named, felt familiar. Sitting quietly with breath, noticing sensations without judgment, mirrored ancient practices of prayer, meditation, and contemplation. The body responded as it always had, shoulders softened, breath deepened, thoughts slowed. Anxiety, once feared, became something that could be observed, like clouds drifting across a wide, open sky. As night continues to deepen around you, imagine all of this knowledge settling gently into your body, not as information, but as sensation. Feel the steady rhythm of breath that women across history have relied upon. Inhale slowly, as if drawing in centuries of calm. Exhale gently, releasing tension carried for too long. There is no rush, there never was. Picture a long, quiet hallway made of time itself. Along its walls hang scenes from history. A woman tending herbs at dawn, another walking through a cloister garden, another writing by lamplight, another sitting in quiet therapy, eyes closed, breathing slowly. None of them are alone. Each is supported by the presence of those who came before and those who will come after. Anxiety moves through this hallway too, but it is softer here, quieter, understood. Now imagine yourself stepping into this space. The floor beneath you is warm and solid. The air is calm. You do not need to do anything. You do not need to solve anything. Simply being here is enough. Your nervous system recognizes this safety, this familiarity, and begins to unwind. Muscles release their grip. Thoughts lose their sharp edges. The body remembers how to rest. As sleep approaches, history itself seems to whisper reassurance. It reminds you that anxiety has always been part of the human story, especially for women navigating complex worlds. And it reminds you that calm has always been available too, in breath, in rhythm, in presence, in gentle care. Let your awareness soften now. Let words fade into sensation. Let the long story of care continue without effort. Like the women before you, you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to sleep. And in this quiet moment, held by centuries of understanding, peace arrives naturally, gently, and without resistance. As the night grows deeper and more still, the story no longer needs to move forward in time. Instead, it settles, circling softly around the same truth, like a lullaby repeated just enough to soothe the nervous system into rest. History fades into a gentle backdrop, and what remains is the shared rhythm of breath, care, and calm that women have always returned to when anxiety appeared. In countless bedrooms across centuries, women lay awake listening to the subtle sounds of night. The distant call of an owl, the creak of wooden beams cooling after sunset, the soft sigh of wind against shutters. Anxiety often arrived in these quiet hours, when the world stopped demanding attention and the mind turned inward. And so, women learned to meet the night gently. They placed a hand on their chest or stomach, feeling the steady rise and fall of breath, reminding themselves again and again that they were still here, still safe. Some whispered prayers, not always to gods, but to the night itself. Some repeated comforting phrases taught by mothers or healers. Others focused on physical sensations, the softness of linen sheets, the weight of a blanket, the warmth of their own body. These simple anchors grounded them, drawing attention away from spiraling thoughts and back into the present moment, where nothing needed to be fixed. Long before neuroscience explained the calming power of touch and rhythm, women understood it instinctively. They rocked gently, hummed softly, or traced slow patterns on their own skin. These movements spoke directly to the nervous system, signaling safety, familiarity, and rest. Anxiety, once loud and insistent, gradually softened, like a voice growing quieter as it realizes it has been heard. In ancient healing spaces, women were encouraged to lie still and breathe while incense drifted slowly through the air. The scent itself became a bridge between body and mind, carrying attention away from fear and toward sensation. In later centuries, warm baths served the same purpose. Immersed in water, the body felt supported, held, relieved of gravity's pull. Muscles loosened. Anxiety dissolved into warmth. Even in the modern age, these same principles remain. A warm shower before bed. A favorite calming scent, soft lighting, gentle music. Each is a continuation of the same lineage of care. The body does not distinguish between ancient ritual and modern routine, it only recognizes comfort, consistency, and gentleness. As you lie here now listening, your body may already be responding, your jaw may loosen. Your shoulders may sink slightly downward, your breath may lengthen on its own. There is no need to force this, just notice. Awareness itself is soothing. Imagine anxiety now, not as something inside you, but as something resting nearby, no longer demanding attention. It sits quietly, like a tired traveler who has finally set down their bags. You do not need to push it away. You do not need to engage with it. Simply allowing it to rest is enough. Across time, women learned that peace does not come from struggle. It comes from permission. Permission to feel, permission to pause, permission to sleep. The nervous system relaxes when it knows it is no longer being judged or rushed. Picture a slow, steady heartbeat echoing through history. Each beat belongs to a woman who learned, in her own way, how to soothe herself. That rhythm now aligns with yours. It steadies you, grounds you, carries you gently downward into rest. Thoughts become less distinct now, like shapes seen through mist. Words soften, images blur. This is the mind doing what it is meant to do at night, releasing control, surrendering effort, allowing rest to take over. You are not alone in this moment. You are held by centuries of quiet knowledge, by the countless women who lay awake before you and learned how to return to calm. Their wisdom lives not in books, but in your body's ability to rest now. Let sleep arrive without ceremony. Let it come as naturally as breath. There is nothing more to understand tonight, nothing more to do. Only rest. The night holds everything gently now. There is no urgency left in time, no edges in thought. History has folded itself into the present moment, becoming a soft hum beneath awareness. Women across centuries no longer stand apart in memory. They rest together in a shared stillness, breathing in unison with the dark and the quiet. In this deep calm, anxiety is no longer a problem to solve. It is simply a sensation that once asked for attention and now has received it. Like a child who has been comforted, it grows drowsy. It no longer needs to speak loudly. It curls inward and rests. Long ago, women learned that the body understands safety faster than the mind. That is why they turned to warmth, to repetition, to softness. A wool blanket placed carefully across the legs. A hand resting over the heart, a familiar scent lingering in the air. These things told the nervous system what words could not. You are protected, you may let go. Across history, women trusted the night more than they trusted explanations. They let darkness do its quiet work. They noticed how worries seemed less sharp when viewed by moonlight. How thoughts lost their urgency when the world itself slowed. Night was not an enemy, it was a healer. Now the same night surrounds you. Your breathing is steady, effortless. Each inhale arrives on its own. Each exhale releases more than you realize. Muscles soften without instruction. The forehead smooths. The tongue rests easily in the mouth. Even the small muscles around the eyes let go. In ancient times, women believed anxiety was excess energy and rest was the remedy, not forced rest, not commanded stillness, but the kind of rest that arrives naturally when nothing is expected of you. When there is nowhere to go, when the world asks nothing. That is this moment. Imagine a long field under a night sky. No wind, no movement, just stillness stretching outward in all directions. Anxiety has no place to grip here. It dissolves into the open space. Thoughts may still appear, but they drift like distant stars noticed briefly, then fading without effort. There is no need to follow them. Sleep does not require attention. It only requires permission. Women throughout history gave themselves that permission in small ways. Sitting quietly, closing their eyes, letting silence stretch, trusting the body to do what it has always known how to do. You are doing that now. Your body remembers this state. It recognizes it as familiar, safe, old as time. As awareness continues to soften, even the sense of listening begins to fade. Words become less distinct. Meaning loosens. What remains is comfort. You may feel as though you are floating gently downward or sinking into warmth. There is no wrong sensation. Whatever you feel or do not feel is exactly right. Sleep is not something you enter. It is something that envelops you. And now it does. There is nothing left to hold. Nothing left to manage. The story continues without needing your attention, just as history continues without effort. You rest. You sleep. You are held. There is very little left to think about now. Very little left to remember. The story has done what it needed to do. It has carried you gently from the long memory of women's lives into this single, quiet moment where nothing is required. Across history, women learned that rest is not earned. It is allowed. So they allowed it. They stopped searching for reasons. They stopped replaying the day. They trusted the body to settle itself, the way water settles when it is no longer disturbed. You may notice how heavy your limbs feel now, or how light. Either way is fine. The body chooses what it needs. Breath continues on its own, smooth and unforced. The pause between breaths lengthens slightly, like the hush between waves. Nothing rushes in. Nothing pulls away. In ancient healing traditions, this state was recognized as the doorway, the place where awareness loosens its grip, where anxiety no longer has enough energy to hold shape, where the mind slips gently out of the foreground. Women were taught not to interrupt this moment, not to analyze it, not to name it, just to let it happen. So let it happen now. If a thought appears, it drifts through like a passing shadow. If a sensation appears, it softens and fades. Nothing stays long enough to matter. The night wraps around you completely. Not dark in a way that hides, but dark in a way that protects. Every generation of women understood this darkness. They trusted it. They let it carry them when the world had been too loud, too demanding, too sharp. Your nervous system recognizes this trust. It responds immediately. Heart rate slows. Muscles release. Awareness dims. You are no longer listening in the way you were before. The words reach you only faintly now, like sound through water. That is exactly right. Sleep is already here. It arrived quietly while attention was elsewhere. It always does. There is no edge between being awake and being asleep. Just a soft blending, a gradual letting go. The long history of women's anxiety fades now, not because it was unimportant, but because it has been fully held, fully acknowledged, fully soothed. Nothing more needs to be said. Nothing more needs to be done. You rest now in the same way women have rested for centuries, by allowing the night to take over. Breath continues. Body settles. Mind drifts. And sleep deepens naturally, effortlessly. Completely. There is nothing you need to follow anymore. The words are only here to keep the quiet company. Breath moves in. Breath moves out. That is all. Across centuries, women discovered that this simple rhythm was enough. Enough to calm the body. Enough to soften the mind. Enough to carry them into rest when anxiety had lingered too long. You're in that same rhythm now. The body knows it is night. It knows the signals, the stillness, the darkness, the absence of demand. It responds by turning inward, by conserving energy, by letting go. Thought slows, then slows again. In old homes, women listened to this slowing with relief. They knew that when the mind began to drift, sleep was close. They did not reach for it. They allowed it to arrive. Just as you are doing now. Muscles release in small waves. First the face, then the neck, then the shoulders. Down the arms, through the chest and belly, into the legs. Each release is quiet, unnoticed, effortless. Anxiety no longer has a place to stand. There is no tension left for it to grip. No urgency left to fuel it. It fades, not dramatically, but gently, the way sound fades when distance grows. The story itself becomes distant now. You may hear only fragments. You may hear nothing at all. Both are signs that sleep is deepening. In the past, women trusted this stage. They did not try to stay awake inside it. They let awareness slip below the surface, like a stone settling into warm sand. Your body is doing the same. Time has no shape here. Minutes dissolve. Hours lose meaning. There is only rest. The nervous system enters its quiet work. Repairing, restoring, soothing. It does this best when the mind steps aside, so the mind steps aside now. If there is any remaining thought, it loosens and dissolves. Sleep holds you fully. Nothing reaches you. Nothing is required. And in this deep stillness, the long history of care, of women learning how to soften anxiety, continues silently, through you as rest. The words are almost unnecessary now. They move slowly like distant clouds, barely forming. Breath continues, gentle, automatic. The body has fully accepted the night. Across history, this was the moment women trusted most. The moment when anxiety no longer needed attention, because the body had taken over the work of calming. You are there now. Awareness drifts lower, as if sinking into warm ground. Supported, held, nothing pulls at you. Nothing asks for response. The nervous system settles into its deepest rhythm. Heart steady, breath slow, mind quiet. In ancient times, healers believed this state was sacred. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was complete. No effort, no striving, only rest. Thoughts do not finish themselves anymore. They fade halfway through. They dissolve before forming. This is sleep doing its work. If a sound reaches you, it passes through without meaning. If a sensation arises, it softens immediately. You are wrapped in stillness. The long story of women and anxiety has come to its quietest place. Not resolution, but peace. No explanations remain. No memories need sorting. Just rest. Deeper now, further away from words. Further away from time, breath in, breath out. And nothing else. You remain asleep. The night holds steady. Nothing changes quickly here. Nothing needs to. Breath moves in a slow, natural cycle, the way it always has, the way it always will. The body follows this rhythm without thought, without effort. It remembers what to do when it is no longer being watched. Across centuries, women trusted this moment. They knew that once the body reached this depth of calm, anxiety no longer had access. The mind had softened its grip. The nervous system had taken control. Rest was inevitable. You are resting now. The muscles remain loose, heavy, warm. The small muscles, those around the eyes, the jaw, the fingers have completely let go. There is no holding, no bracing, no anticipation. In ancient homes, this was the hour when fires burned low and conversations ended. The world withdrew its noise. Women allowed themselves to disappear into sleep, confident that morning would come whether they stayed awake for it or not. Thought is no longer linear. It drifts without direction, then fades entirely. There is no need to organize it. There is no need to remember it. Sleep does not require attention. It only requires absence of resistance. The body sinks further into stillness, not sinking downward but inward, deeper into its own natural quiet, heartbeat steady, breath slow, awareness dim. Long ago, healers noticed that anxiety could not survive in this state. It needed tension, alertness, vigilance. Without those, it simply dissolved. Not pushed away. Not erased. Just gone. This is why rest was always part of healing. Not as a reward, not as an instruction, but as a return. You have returned. The story continues now without shape, without detail, without demand. Words arrive and fade, without meaning. Images blur before forming. Time stretches thin, then disappears. If there is a sense of floating, let it float. If there is a sense of weight, let it settle. Both are signs of safety. Across history, women slept like this after long days and long worries. Their bodies knew when it was finally safe to release. Yours knows now. Nothing interrupts the state. Nothing pulls you back. The night is wide and quiet and complete. Breath continues. Rest deepens. Sleep holds you fully now, the way it has held countless women before you without effort, without struggle, without expectation. There is no edge, no transition, no moment to notice. Only deep, uninterrupted rest. The night remains steady and unchanging. Nothing asks for your attention. Nothing shifts abruptly. Breath flows in a smooth, unbroken rhythm, in and out. Each cycle quieter than the last. The body has fully entered its resting intelligence. It knows how to sleep without guidance, without instruction. It has done this across every era, across every life, across every night that ever arrived. Across history, women slept like this after worry loosened its hold. Their bodies sank into mattresses, straw pallets, woven mats, soft earth, quiet rooms. The surroundings differed, but the sensation was always the same: release. Anxiety did not follow them here. It could not. It belonged to the waking state, to alertness and anticipation. In this depth, there is no anticipation left. Muscles stay relaxed, loose, heavy. There is no tension anywhere that needs noticing. The face remains soft. The eyes rest comfortably behind closed lids. The tongue lies gently in the mouth. Every signal tells the nervous system that it is safe to remain asleep. Time stretches and thins. Minutes dissolve into one another. There is no sense of before or after. In centuries past, women trusted this state completely. They did not fear losing awareness. They welcomed it. Sleep was not absence, it was restoration. It repaired what worry had worn thin. It soothed what had been overused. Your body is doing that now. Breathing remains slow and steady. The chest rises slightly, then falls, each movement smaller, quieter. Thoughts no longer form sentences. They appear as fragments, then dissolve, before meaning can attach. This is deep sleep. If a sound passes through the room, it does not register as important. It drifts by without waking the mind. The body remains still, anchored. The night itself feels vast and calm, like a wide-open space with no edges. Nothing presses in. Nothing intrudes. Across generations, women slept through storms, through silence, through long nights and short ones. Sleep adapted to everything. It adapts now. The heartbeat remains slow and even. The breath continues without effort. There is no awareness of position anymore, no need to adjust, no impulse to move. The body is completely comfortable. In ancient understanding, this depth of rest was believed to allow healing without thought. The body knew how to restore itself when left undisturbed. That belief endures not as belief now, but as biology. You are undisturbed. The story continues only as a soft presence. Not something to listen to. Not something to follow. Just a quiet thread, keeping the night company. Sleep deepens further, naturally. There is nowhere else to go. Anxiety is no longer accessible. It cannot be reached from here. It does not belong to this state. What remains is calm, stable, unbroken. The nervous system stays in its quiet mode, repairing, rebalancing, settling. If there is dreaming, it drifts gently. If there is emptiness, it stays peaceful. Both are welcome. The body remains warm and heavy. The surface beneath you feels supportive, steady. Nothing needs to change. The night holds you fully now, the way it has always held those who learn slowly, patiently that rest is allowed. Breath continues, heart steady, mind absent. Sleep remains deep, and uninterrupted, and complete. Nothing shifts now, nothing begins, nothing ends. The night remains exactly as it is, quiet, wide, undemanding. Breath continues in its own time, slow, even, unnoticed. The body has fully settled into deep rest. There is no impulse to move, no need to adjust. Muscles stay loose, heavy, and warm. The weight of the body feels evenly supported, as if the surface beneath you is holding every part without effort. Across centuries, women rested like this after long seasons of worry, their minds released first. Then their bodies followed. Sleep took over not because it was summoned, but because nothing stood in its way. That is happening now. Awareness has thinned to almost nothing. If it appears at all, it is distant like a sound heard from far away, without meaning, without urgency. The words here pass through the same way, leaving no trace. The nervous system remains calm and steady, heart slow, breath smooth, mind quiet. In this state, the body repairs itself gently. Tissues soften, energy restores. The subtle systems that carry stress release it naturally, without instruction. This is why rest has always been part of healing. It works without effort. It asks for nothing. The night feels timeless now. Not long, not short. Just present. There is no sense of waiting, no sense of progress. Only stillness. Anxiety cannot return here. There is no alertness for it to attach to, no tension to awaken. It remains outside this depth, irrelevant and distant. Sleep continues uninterrupted. If dreams appear, they drift slowly and softly, without intensity. If there is only darkness, it is gentle and complete. The body remains still, the breath remains slow, the heart remains steady. Across history, this was the deepest rest women trusted most, the rest that asked nothing of them, the rest that carried them through the night without awareness. You are carried now. There is nothing to notice, nothing to remember, nothing to respond to. The night remains calm. Sleep remains deep. And you remain asleep, held quietly, without interruption, without effort, without thought. The words loosen and fall away. They are no longer needed. The night remains steady, calm, complete. Breath continues on its own. The body rests fully, deeply, without interruption. Nothing returns you to waking, nothing stirs the mind. The long story of women, of anxiety, of care and gentleness, settles into silence, not because it is finished, but because it has become rest itself. You are held. You are safe. You are sleeping. And the night continues to carry you softly, quietly, all the way through.